So, this is David Tal. This is going to be the first of a new connection between Hope for Our Times and Pastor Tom Hughes, talking about the events that we see today in light of prophecy, and me bringing a different point of view to what's going on in the Middle East today because of my background. For those of you who don't know me, my name is David Tal. I'm connected to the Balagan connection, and I am an Israeli. Well, I was born in the States, that's the accent, but I grew up in Israel. And that's going to be part of my point of view of bringing this from an Israeli and Jewish perspective. At the age of 18, I went into the military, spent almost 9 years in uniform on tanks most of my life, so I'm a tank commander by trade. Finishing my military service, I went into, I'm going to call, for lack of a better word, the intelligence world or embassy world, and I'm connected to that. So I'm going to be bringing that perspective together with the fact that I'm a born-again Christian. And I think that is what we need to kind of fill out part of this. So we're going to call this Hope in the Balagan. And the word Balagan is amazing. It's actually a Persian word, which is very, very interesting. And Balagan literally means mix up, mess up, snafu, all kinds of military terminology that I don't want to use. The Balagan is completely contextual, which means you can have a balagan in your bedroom before you get things organized. Most of you have a balagan in your garage. You got the idea. But it could be Hezbollah firing rockets at Israel. That is a big balagan for Israel. Or it could be pagers exploding mysteriously in Beirut. That would be a big balagan for Hezbollah. And I think that's going to be what we're going to be talking about, the connection between these different aspects. And today specifically, I want to connect to what's going on on Israel's northern border. We'll be going into that a little bit deeper because this is where the action is taking place, and connecting the different aspects of this. Here's what I think I need you to know. All of this is connected to Gaza on one side and Iran on the other side. So what's new? Israel has taken off the gloves. For probably a couple of weeks now, Israel has been targeting the military leaders of an organization called Hezbollah. Now, if you're connected to Hope for Our Times or the Balagan connection, you understand that Hezbollah is an Iranian proxy that actually sits in the southern part of Lebanon and has, over the last 11 months, or almost a year since the war started, has fired more than 2,000 rockets, drones, and missiles over across the border from Lebanon into Israel. They're targeting communities. And again, let's make this clear. They're shooting anti-tank missiles into homes. They're shooting at Kiryat Shmona, which is a town. They're targeting kibbutzim. And a couple of weeks back, they targeted the village of Majd al-Shams on the Golan Heights, killing 12 kids in a soccer game. And wounding many, many more. And they are threatening to continue these rockets when they can, how they can, where they can. The question is, how did we get to this situation where Hezbollah is actually firing rockets from Lebanon into Israel? And a couple of words about Lebanon so we understand what's going on. Lebanon is a nation that sits on the northern border of Israel. It was created by colonial powers. Literally, it was a French mandate for many years. And the reason Lebanon is a little bit different in the Middle East is because Lebanon is a Christian nation. Most of the people living in Lebanon are Arabs, but they're Arab Christian. It's the only country that had an Arab Christian majority. Now, it doesn't mean that everybody is Arab Christian, which is why Lebanon is such a complex nation. It was created by the colonial powers, and it was actually created for the Christians in Lebanon. But inside Lebanon, because of its backdrop, a lot of different sects of even Islam took up shop. So Lebanon has Greek Orthodox Christian, Maronites, different elements of Christianity. It also has Druze, which is an offshoot of Islam, a weird, kind of a Muslim version of the Mormons. It has Alawites, but it also has a large Muslim population, which is part Sunni and part Shiite. Those are the two denominations, if you want, inside Islam. And none of these different elements get along with each other, which is why when the foreign powers imposed a democracy on Lebanon, it became one big balagan. Because people were voting according to their according to their background, and that became a situation where the central government had to have a Christian president, a Muslim minister of defense, and to make the long story short, Lebanon is a failed nation because of that. And the central government is not strong, which is why different elements down through history have been taking possession of parts of Lebanon and using them for all kinds of reasons. We have warlords back in the 1800s who set up shop in Beirut and in Sidon and used that as their own little fiefdom. We had the Palestinians who were kicked out of Jordan and actually couldn't find a place, so they set up shop in southern Lebanon and used southern Lebanon as a base to attack Israel. And this is back in the 70s and the 80s. And at some point, Israel had to go into southern Lebanon. This is my war in 1981. Going into southern Lebanon and clearing out the Palestine Liberation Organization from southern Lebanon because we didn't want it to be used as an attack. I went into the battle, and I actually spent 3.5 years in southern Lebanon trying to create an environment that won't be used to attack Israel. But it didn't really work because after we pushed the PLO out of southern Lebanon, in the power vacuum that was created, another organization called the Hezbollah, the Party of God or the Army of God, okay, set up shop in southern Lebanon. And a couple of words about the Hezbollah. The Hezbollah is an Iranian proxy. It's funded and trained and used by Iran to do Iran's bidding in the Middle East. And Iran's bidding in the Middle East as of now is to create the instability that we see that is going on. And what happens is that on the 8th of October, after the attack on the 7th of October in Gaza, which is on the south, on the 8th of October, Hezbollah starting firing into Israeli towns and into Israeli communities in solidarity with Hamas. Let me explain this. We don't have a war with Lebanon. We don't have a struggle with Lebanon. We don't have a border dispute with Lebanon. We've got a little bit of an argument about some offshore drilling, but we can get along with that. But Hezbollah, which is the strongest non-nation terrorist organization in southern Lebanon, is actually using southern Lebanon as a base to attack Israel. And they're much more dangerous than the Hamas is in the south, and they have a whole country under their control. So that has been the situation until now. But the Hezbollah, according to the Iranian doctrine, has been very careful to walk down the middle of this, what I would call, and I'm not the only one, I think Henry Kissinger kind of termed the coin, brinkmanship. They're going to push as much as they can. They're going to create as much damage. They're going to create a situation where Israel has to move its population out of the northern area. 65,000 Israelis have been moved out of their homes, okay, including the family that is living in my apartment in Modin right now because they are being targeted by the Hezbollah. So they have pushed Israel into a point where we're moving people out. We have to spend time and energy on dealing with them, but they don't want an all-out war with Israel. Another thing that they're doing very weirdly, and I need people to understand this, is this separation or part separation between them and Lebanon. Lebanon is a state. The state has a government. The state has assets. It's got power plants. It's got water facilities. It's got electricity. I mean, we could hit the state, but the government of Lebanon is saying, no, it's not us. It's Hezbollah. On the other hand, Hezbollah is embedding itself inside the Shiite population in southern Lebanon. And actually, we have evidence of houses in southern Lebanon that have Hezbollah rockets and attics that have drones and basements that have cruise missiles inside civilian population. That's how they defend. And what they do is they scuttle out from under the building, shoot a rocket at Israel, disappear back, and if Israel retaliates against that, civilians will be hurt in southern Lebanon. So that has been the situation more or less for the last 10 months, 11 months since the 8th of October. I want to stress something. I don't understand why it is acceptable for worldwide public opinion that a country fires on another country because it sees solidarity with whatever. Why would it be acceptable, for instance, if the United States of America has a war in Grenada, for all the reasons that Mexico decides to fire into downtown San Diego in solidarity with what's happening somewhere else? That Argentina will start firing into downtown Chicago because the British went to conquer the Falkland Islands. I mean, I don't understand why that is acceptable practice. And for some reason, not only has the world accepted that Hezbollah is doing it in the north on the behest of Iran, they've also accepted that a terrorist organization sitting in Yemen on the southern part of the Red Sea is also doing the same thing and firing rockets at Israel in order to hit Israeli targets in Israel, and they're doing it in the name of support for the Hamas, and nobody has a problem with that. They're shooting rockets at ships in the Red Sea, and nobody's taking them. They're saying we need to defend ourselves against this, but nobody, it's like, okay, we accept that in the name of solidarity with a Muslim terrorist organization called Hamas, we accept that you can fire rockets and hit whatever you want. I don't understand this. We don't understand this. Israelis don't understand this. And I don't know. I mean, I can look at this from a different point of view, but on a political, geopolitical, and even military point of view, it doesn't make sense. The only reason it makes sense is because this is not a physical battle. This is not a military battle. This is not even a geopolitical contest. This is as much a spiritual battle as anything else. But when you see these gaping deceptions, you have to realize that this is what's happening. More than 2,000 rockets, drones, and missiles have been fired at Israel, and nobody says stop. Nobody says don't do this. Nobody says this is not acceptable. And when we retaliate as Israelis, this is when everybody gets into the story. Why is Hezbollah doing it? Because Iran told them to do it. Why did Iran tell them? Publicly, Iran told them to help Hamas, and that's what the idea was. But what does Iran really want? And let's go back a little bit to the history. Iran used to be a Muslim nation, secular, mostly secular, but they had a Muslim revolution, and they overthrew the secular government and turned this into a Muslim theocracy. It is run by mullahs and imams who are actually theocratic elements. They are Shia Muslims, which is different from the regular Al-Qaeda, Egyptian, Saudi Arabian. They are an offshoot, a different denomination, a more militant and a smaller denomination, but they want to make their mark on the Muslim world. This is a spiritual, theological war. Islam believes it should be running the world. It doesn't understand how the Judeo-Christian ideals have become the dominant culture in the world today. And they believe that Islam should be running the world, and they believe that the reason Islam is not running the world is because they have not showed themselves to be pious and religious and, in my words, fanatic enough, actually, to return Islam to its greatest glory. Iran believes that they can lead this new revolution of Islam in the rest of the world, and they actually have prophecies that they actually interpret, believing that it's their role to prepare the situation, to prepare the world for the arrival of the 12th Imam and later on of the Muslim Messiah. It is a religious, prophetic, Muslim prophetic itinerary that they are actually trying to impose on the rest of the world. They're doing it against Israel. And it's not by chance that Israel right now is the main barrier, is the main obstacle for Muslim prophetic revelation being fulfilled. It's not by chance that Israel is playing the role of holding back this Muslim revolution that they're trying to spread to the rest of the world. I need you to understand that that's who and what Israel is right now. It's not by chance that Israel was placed by God in this very, very unique situation. We've played a role in the past, we're playing a role in the present, and we will be playing a role in the future. So what's happening now? The situation in Gaza has settled down. There is a negotiation that is not leading to anywhere. The fighting has actually died down because there's nobody left to really fight, but we still haven't achieved our goal of releasing, saving, rescuing the 101 hostages that are still in Gaza. They're hidden in somewhere in tunnels deep, deep down. Yahya Sinwar in Gaza has disappeared. We don't know where he is, and we haven't heard from him from a couple of weeks. A lot of people believe that he is maybe either incapacitated or might even be dead, which would change the whole situation. But in the meantime, we can't reach an agreement with anybody in Gaza, and Israel has turned its attention to the north, and literally 2 weeks ago, we took off the gloves and we started attacking the Hezbollah in the places that it actually hurts the most. So we've been taking out Hezbollah commanders, and there's a whole list of Hezbollah high commanders that have been taken out by Israel over the last couple of weeks. The only one left is Hassan Nasrallah, who is the head of Hezbollah. And we've been taking out them very, very specifically, meaning hitting the commanders and the actual Hezbollah fighters. Israel has a serious problem in this battle because the enemy is embedding himself inside civilian population. And I don't know who did this, but a couple of weeks ago, because the Hezbollah was having a problem with the communications being hacked into, their cell phones were being hacked into by Israel, they bought a whole load of pagers. You remember the old pagers that we used to use? And they handed them out to Hezbollah operatives, meaning if you are a functionary in the army of Hezbollah, or if you're a player in Hezbollah, then you will get one of these pagers that you will be able to receive messages on. And a week and a half ago, about 3,000 pagers exploded in the middle of the day all over Lebanon and Syria. I don't know who did it, but whoever did it did a couple of things. Managed to hack into their pager network, managed to place minute, really, something like 10 grams of explosive inside those pagers. And after the pagers were handed out to Hezbollah soldiers, managed to send a signal that blew up these explosives inside the pagers. It is one of the most, people are going to talk about this, and movies are going to be made about how Israel managed to do this, if it was Israel, and how we infiltrated, if it was us. Here's the thing. In my mind, this was an amazing pinpointed strike against the enemy soldiers. You do not have a pager like that if you're not a Hezbollah soldier or connected to Hezbollah. By the way, including the Iranian ambassador in Lebanon. Remember, Lebanon and Hezbollah, not the same. Iran has an ambassador. He had a pager and he was wounded by one of these pagers. But here's the thing. Israel is still being accused of war crimes. We're still being accused of collateral damage. We're still being accused of, targeting civilians. And again, doesn't make any sense to me. And if it makes sense to you, leave comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. But the idea is that we have been very, very particular about targeting the enemy's assets, the enemy commanders, and the enemy combatants. And we're still being accused of war crimes. In the meantime, Hezbollah is vowing not to back down and still managing to fire rockets. 40 rockets actually were fired at Israel, including one at Tel Aviv that was actually intercepted in high altitude by one of the Israeli interception systems. This time it was the David Sling. Just a quick note: the Iron Dome is how do you say, short range missiles. The David Sling is medium range missiles and rockets. And the Arrow system is supposed to intercept ballistic missiles coming in from the stratosphere. And again, they fired one rocket at Tel Aviv. It was intercepted, but it did light off sirens all over Tel Aviv. And then they hide back inside their population centers. Israel took out the rocket launcher, but again, Israel is being accused of war crimes because it was situated inside a civilian situation, inside a civilian neighborhood. Israel has made it clear that we have no battle with the Lebanese. We don't have a problem with the state of Lebanon. We have a problem with Hezbollah, who is using Lebanon in order to attack us. But again, that separation hasn't been made completely. And because they are embedded inside Lebanon society, Lebanon will bear the brunt of us trying to get Hezbollah to stop firing. And here's the main problem. I mean, Israel is at a dilemma right now. What do we do? I mean, we could take out their infrastructure. We could take out bridges and electricity and water facilities, but that would just create a humanitarian situation inside Lebanon, and the world doesn't want to see that. The world doesn't want to see an all-out war between Israel. So Israel is saying we will have no choice but to go into southern Lebanon, conquer a buffer area on the southern border of Lebanon, and make sure that southern Lebanon is not used to fire against Israel. And actually, we've been making it very clear that our battle is not against the Lebanese. We've been hacking into cell systems in order to tell people to leave their house because we're going to hit it. We've made public statements to the Lebanese. The only problem is the Lebanese are, just like other enemies, are taken hostage by this Muslim ideology and this Muslim terrorist organization and can't really do anything against them. Large amounts of Lebanese have moved away from southern Lebanon and moved to the north to get away from the fighting that they think is going to happen in southern Lebanon. And here's the thing. The world is talking about the Lebanese that have been moved out of their houses in southern Lebanon. Nobody is talking about the Israelis that have been moved out of their houses in northern Israel. Why is there difference? And one of the things that we're going to be talking along the way is the reason for these differences that play out in the real world, but actually have biblical and prophetic backgrounds and basis and reasons. And we're going to be connecting this as we go along. There is a little bit of public protest and dissonance inside Lebanon. Some of the Lebanese don't want to accept the Shiite, refugees from southern Lebanon. And that is the situation right now in southern Lebanon. As of a day or two ago, the United States of America, France, England, Egypt, I think Qatar, has been putting on huge efforts into reach an agreement between Israel and the Hezbollah that will allow the Hezbollah to stop firing. The only problem is there already is an agreement between Hezbollah and Israel that Hezbollah will not move into southern Lebanon and will not threaten Israel from southern Lebanon. It is an agreement called UN Resolution 1701 that was signed by Israel and Lebanon and the Hezbollah in 2006 after the Second Lebanese War. So there is an agreement in place that says that Hezbollah shouldn't be firing, and it is an agreement that has been imposed by the United Nations. The thing is that nobody upholds that agreement. Nobody actually is bringing Lebanon to bear or Hezbollah to bear for not upholding agreement that they were signed on themselves. That's the situation right now. There's huge amounts of diplomatic and political playing in the background in order to implement an agreement before Israel does go into southern Lebanon. Iran is threatening to use Israel's invasion of southern Lebanon as a reason to start a war directly between Iran and Israel. I have a feeling that they're not going to do that, But the United States of America and the rest of the world is freaked out that if that does happen, we will be all drawn into a major, major war in all of the Middle East. And that is the situation as of now. I just now heard the Israeli chief of staff saying that we are preparing to go into southern Lebanon. And I need you to stay connected. I need you to stay involved. We need to talk about this because if it does escalate, we might be going into events that are end time kind of events. And it just feels like this it just feels like this in so many different ways. What we need from you is, first of all, to be connected to what is going on. And Hope for Our Times and the Balagan Connection, okay, or Hope in the Balagan, I love that. We'll be keeping you updated on what's going on and what it means, both from the Israeli present military intelligence point of view and what it means from a prophetic point of view. Pray for us. We need a lot of prayer. We need a lot of prayer for Israel, but pray for our leaders. Benjamin Netanyahu is a prime minister of Israel. There's a government in Israel. There's a lot of stories, and we will go into a little bit of the politics in Israel and talk about that. But I need you to connect to a passage that I kind of picked up from Proverbs 24. And this is what we need for our leadership right now. This is Proverbs 24, verse 5 and 6, and it goes like this. A wise man is strong. Yes, a man of knowledge increases strength. For by wise counsel you will wage your own war, and in multiple counselors there is safety. And what I need you to do is pray for wisdom. Pray for wisdom for our leaders. Pray for wisdom for your leaders. Support Israel. Israel needs support right now. We need financial support. Our economy has gone down the drain. I'm a tour guide, and there are no more tourists in Israel, and we're trying to deal with that. We need you to support Israel in any way possible, which is a connection to what we are doing now. I'm connected to Pastor Jeff and Karen Johnson from Calvary Chapel Downey. And before the war, we put together a ministry called Gihon Springs, spring of water bubbling out from the side of Mount Moriah. And Gihon Springs was supposed to support Jews and mostly Christian organizations in Israel. The thing is that immediately after the war, we realized that there's a need for direct support, in some cases, actual military units. We've been buying up specialized equipment for some of the military units to have in their war in the South. And it looks like we're going to be adding on special military equipment for the war in the South. We buy up drones, we buy up special equipments, helmets, body armor. So what we're trying to say is, if you want to support Israel directly, Gihon Springs is a good way to go. We're a small organization that pushes everything into the ministry in a very, very direct manner. Another way you need to support Israel is go to vote. The vote in November is going to be one of the most impactful events in modern history. I need you to go to vote. And vote based on the connection between whoever you're voting for and Israel. Check out who is supporting Israel. Check out who is connected to Israel, and vote according to what your heart says and what your Bible says. And I think that's really, really important. I need everybody to share Christian love. Jews and Israelis need love more than anything right now. So share Christian love. And if you've gotten this far, please share this. Spread this to your friends. This is going to be on the Balagan Connection. This is going to be on Hope for Our Times. Like, subscribe, press the button, because that's how this gets spread. This word gets spread. And here's what I need to stress more than anything. As an Israeli, as a Jew, the voices that are against Israel are much, much louder and much, much more outspoken than the voices that are for Israel. Now, I know whoever is watching me and knows the connection between Bible, Israel, and prophecy knows what role Israel is supposed to play and is supporting of Israel. But we need to spread this word to more and more people, and we're spreading it by this platform. Subscribe, connect, and let's see if we can spread the word as much as possible. This is David Tal, and this is Hope in Balagan. And I just want to share this with you and be in touch. Hope to see you soon.